sport itself underestimates its power. And this is a two-way thing. It's very important to think about that. The opportunity that sport has to create role models and to actually impact the developing world is quite extraordinary. Now, I became an ambassador of UNICEF yesterday because I stepped down after 7 years as being its president, and Paddy Ashdown taken up the role. But it offered me, obviously, this week an opportunity to reflect. And I jotted down half a dozen things. What have I learned in 7 years at UNICEF? First of all, that the world's a pretty brutal place. And you have to work very hard, if you're doing the job I was doing, to retain your optimism. Secondly, that the visible disparities between rich and poor are growing, not diminishing. Visible being the important word there. Thirdly, that 95% of the world's problems, and I'm sorry guys I have to say this, are caused and created by men. Fourthly, that far and away the best investment you can possibly make in the developing world is the education of girls and women, because there you create systemic change. Women do not slip back. Fifthly, that one of the best and most established routes for getting girls into school is through sport. It offers them confidence and it offers them parity of esteem with the men in their village and boys in their village, and that's also enormously important. And lastly, there is a lot of money in sport, and it could, and in my judgment, should be playing a bigger role in social and global development. By way of example, and this is obviously a UNICEF example, I never cease to get thrilled at the fact that Barcelona Football Club play with our logo on their backs. More important than that, I've talked to the players. They are thrilled as well. It makes them feel very proud that they're running around the pitch, as it were, with the world's children, or helping the world's children on their back. I have never had a similar conversation with the Manchester United players about AIG. I'm sure they're very, very proud of AIG, but somehow it doesn't seem to ring the same bell. And the point I would make is this: I wasn't privy to be in the boardroom or in the election that they held with their fan base to decide to have UNICEF on the back of the shirts and to forego the very, very significant sums of money that it could have brought. But I actually think it was the greatest investment Barcelona Football Club ever made. It did more for their reputation and global esteem for that club than I think you could possibly imagine. And the last thing I would say, Simon, is this. When organisations and individuals have the opportunity to do things, it's very simple. There are two questions you can ask. One is, why should I? And the other, much more interesting, is why not? And I think what happened at Barcelona is that someone had the courage to say, why not? Because it was not an obvious idea. There must have been people around that board who thought this was a crazy notion. And yet, I would argue, it's one of the most important things that happened in sport, certainly during the years that I was president of UNICEF. 1964 Olympics, a young boy, Yoshimori Sakai, was given the job of lighting the flame at the 64 Olympics. He had been born on the day that the bomb dropped in Hiroshima. And there was quite a kerfuffle over whether this was combining sport and politics. But if you look at the movie, brilliant movie made of the 64 Olympics, and look at the crowd watching this moment, every single one of them is in tears because they absolutely understood that this was far from drawing politics into sport. This was showing what sport could do to heal.